Growing up, MTV was becoming less and less like music and more so the premier channel for the weirdest and honestly most downright fascinating shows that when you look back upon now, you either find some hidden gems of the past or some content you can't believe ever made it past the idea phase. Today, I wanted to look back on this era of MTV, the early to mid 2000s where it felt more like the Wild West than a structured network. So please join me today as we change the channel back in time to MTV's weirdest era.
Yeah, girl! Get some!
I found myself pretty curious one night wanting to relive some weird memories from MTV's finest selection at the time. So let's just pick any from this list that I made because it really makes no difference where we start. Room Raiders, what a gosh darn classic here. Imagine if you had a date with someone who first goes through your room alone and sees all of its contents and judges you based off of those findings. And that's it.
I'm not digging the Hawaiian print.
Come on, baby, please.
Well, then do I have the show for you. Room Raiders featured a group of 3 boys or 3 girls who would be sitting in a van. Well, first they would be totally for real kidnapped by the Room Raiders crew, giving them no time to stage up their room.
Show starts now, buddy.
And then now in the van watching over one boy or one girl going through each of their rooms individually, looking through everything they can to make a decision on who they would like to blind date based solely off of the vibe of their room. The contestants all give us some commentary regarding their embarrassment or lack thereof with the other contestants the whole time.
Figured my feet.
Yeah, big feet. You know what those mean.
Little big socks?
And once all of the rooms have been successfully rated, the 3 contestants get a moment to visit the Raiders' room and learn about them a little bit for themselves.
Dirty laundry bin. Wow, that's pretty elegant.
But within a short amount of time there, the Raider would just appear, surprising them and narrowing down the choice from 3 to 1 based solely off the rooms, and the contestant left standing would be the winner of a date with the Raider. This show is the definition of, please, I can't take watching this anymore. Whether it be the cringy retorts contestants make towards each other.
I might be with her tonight.
Oh no, I'm with her tonight.
Looks like medieval.
If you know Lord of the Rings, you know that's Gimli.
You're really a little kid.
Or the awkward moments that take place in the room.
Must not be too much action on in here.
It is a struggle to watch this in modern times. But the worst offender is the little ending date clips of the winner and the Raider, really putting that cherry on top of a pretty uncomfortable package. This show lasted quite some time, starting in 2003 and officially ending after 8 seasons in 2009, where at some point, in season 3 to be exact, they started theming the seasons with different cities or states, from Miami to California to Texas, finally ending the series on the revamped version of the show called Room Raiders 2.0. What was different? Well, there's a 2 there now. I don't know what I love more, the random cool computer graphics to give us the cool facts about the contestants and random items, or the uselessness of the spy kit. They make such a big deal about this spy kit, and all we really ever do is use a tong to pick up things, or shift through them, or have a black light shine, hopefully not finding any stains of regret. But these raiders will search in what feels like already known spots from the producers to show off the embarrassing items, so the contestants can add some lovely commentary making fun of each other. The show just feels so fake, from the kidnapping at the beginning to the way we hear these lines delivered from everyone.
Those guys are great, but you could have been with the real Superman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is not good. Nintendo, Genesis, which I don't like.
She doesn't like video games. Can you believe that?
How can someone not be a video game fan?
Almost like there's a producer in their ear feeding them lines to say to spice things up, and we just get the worst trying to be PG-13 dialogue around.
I hate to see you go, but I love to watch you leave.
And yet I sit here somehow still loving this literal nothing burger. Well, if for one extra reason, is that it featured a young Zac Efron,
My name's Zac Efron, I'm 17, and I'm an actor.
who was just on the show for, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. If you can't take care of your hairbrush, I don't know if you can really take care of yourself. Have to eliminate room number 1.
I'm Karen.
But let this be the base example of some of the shows we shall speak about today,
Makes me wonder if you're a bit self-absorbed.
That's me.
especially with what we're talking about next.
All right, maybe we can get to know each other a little.
Okay.
Cool, let's go.
You see what I did there? Next, we have Next. You know, funny how that works. But talk about a show that pumped out so much content from 2005 to 2008. Nearly 300 episodes of this show came out, which I feel is quite a ridiculous amount. And not a ridiculousness amount, that's a way bigger number.
Really into guys with good hygiene. We're gonna take you to the dentist.
Hooray!
Another dating related show, but the twist this time is that the several single people known as the daters are waiting within a bus, which was called the Next Bus. Wow, what a clever name. On the outside of the Next Bus was the main contestant, who would tell us about themselves, who they are, what they're into, and we build this connection with them, hoping that inside the bus is the love of their life. This is a reality show, so, you know, relax.
You should have picked me.
Each of the daters inside would also get a chance to let us know about them, especially as one by one when it's their turn for the date. As soon as they step off the bus, we get the most random and unhelpful fun facts about them. The premise here is that for each minute the dater is on the date, they will make $1 per minute, where one of two things can then happen. One, the contestant can stop the date at any moment just by saying next, and the dater is sent back to the bus with however much money they won.
I made $4.
Hooray!
Option 2 is making it all the way through the date and either taking the full prize money, which could be like, I don't know, 50 or 60 bucks, or get the chance for a second date with the contestant.
I would love to go on a second date.
Yay!
In between these random activity-based dates, the daters on the bus would just be chilling in there when it's not their turn, or if they were already nexted, as they kind of just build this bond together, since they are kind of spending the majority of the time together versus the actual date itself.
Are you?
I am.
None of this like tippy tip.
Right on.
That's
cool.
great.
These combos can get pretty awkward or pretty buddy-buddy depending on the group's dynamic.
Today was better than group therapy.
But it feels like it is a way to pad the time for an episode since some of these dates would just zoom by. Oh, and over some of the smallest things, the contestant would have these cutaway bumpers that would diss the dater as they get nexted. Sometimes it's well-deserved,
Well, do you smoke?
Yeah.
Next.
I'm going on the patch.
and sometimes it's about country music.
That's my favorite kind of music.
Oh.
Next. I'd rather be with the hick than look at his tiny.
Next may have had an iconic bus, but in my heart, it just didn't do it for me. Next. One of my biggest passions in my teen years and early adulthood was skateboarding, and while I don't skate too much these days, I have a deep love and respect for the sport and the legends of it all, whether they were on the covers of the magazines or releasing some of the coolest amateur tapes online. But when it came to being next up, Ryan Sheckler was gaining everyone's attention for being so young but having this level of confidence to take on whatever impossibility was in his way, competing in the 2003 X Games at the age of only 13, winning a first place gold medal, making him the youngest in history then to do so. As the decade would evolve throughout the 2000s with the type of shows MTV was making, Rob Dyrdek, who was a fellow skater and already had his own TV show deal, which we will talk about shortly, got Ryan on board to pitch his own show to the network, which who would say no to that, right?
Not having it.
Through this, the show would propel Ryan to a level of stardom that even he couldn't imagine, and things would just get out of hand very quickly. From all of the intimate moments of his life now either being broadcast out there or manipulated by the producers to spice up the show.
I'll never call her my stepmom.
Babe, you don't have to.
It sucks when one parent tells you one thing and the other tells you the other.
Over 3 seasons, we can see all of this start really taking a toll on his personal life and mental health. Every day he would be doing stuff for a camera and having to make sure that something compelling was being filmed. It became a lot less about the kid who was this skateboard prodigy and more so his relationships with his parents or girlfriend that led to his parents actually separating in real life, as well as being forced to keep breaking up with his girlfriend because the take of it needed to be better for the drama. He had stated early on that if it gets me away from my actual skateboarding fans and gets me away from skateboarding, then I'm not going to do the show anymore.
Knew that this was gonna I knew it.
The 3rd season of the show ended after just 6 episodes, as this is when it finally hit him. He was ready to be out and he figured that the show was doing far more harm for his career than helping it anyway. The way he felt that he was portrayed and how fans were switching into haters all based on the fiction of the show, breaking him down on all fronts, was awful and really stuck with him. He wasn't being shown as this young, cool skater, but rather a temperamental, entitled poser.
Well, I want my own house. What about this castle?
Who didn't even seem to be in love with skating that much anymore, which couldn't be further from the truth. All 6 episodes of the 3rd season were shoved out all at once, one after another, on one single day, and they moved on from ever airing the show beyond this.
Or Christy worried about whatever Christy could be worried about because I don't even know what I even know her.
While all of this led to a sad and more grim future for Ryan dealing with his sobriety and just moving forward in life past this show, Life of Ryan serves as an encapsulation of a mental decline for someone young being manipulated by higher-ups, and viewing it now, with truly knowing more of the bigger picture, it's hard not to view it in a more negative light for Ryan and his family's sake. What once felt like a good idea back then, in hindsight, really isn't a great show on all aspects. Parental Control was the show, I swear. If you want a ridiculous and totally staged, allegedly, concept, man, this show was amazing. So you'd have these parents being upset at their kid's current relationship, usually just not liking their partner for whatever various reasons. So what they would do is host auditions where a bunch of random possible partners would try to impress the parents in hopes of getting picked to then compete against the current significant other.
Do me a favor, man, and flirt with Ramona here.
Nice shoes. You want a hump?
And the parent's kid in the end, after spending time with all of them, has to make a decision. Do they stay with their current partner? Do they choose one of the new options? Or do they kick them all to the curb and live the single life, making the parents happy with potentially two of those choices?
What do you guys gotta eat?
Everything was so hammed up here, with the auditions specifically being just as fun to watch as the American Idol auditions. And having the parents become these judges of them, it was just such good TV, no matter how fake, allegedly, it was. The current boyfriend or girlfriend of the child would often be shown in this over-the-top disrespectful manner in their actions towards the parents, but the best part about this is the commentary between them and the parents when they are forced to sit and watch how their other dates go with the parents' choices, while sitting with the parents.
Can you control your husband? It's on a verge of a heart attack.
To worry about going through them naps that you got on.
Did Indiana Jones tell you that when you took his hat?
Talk about making the situation even more awkward as they just make mean comments and the partner has to sit there sweating over their boyfriend or girlfriend having a great time and falling for someone else on these dates. Another element would be the dates themselves.
What other hobbies do you have?
I'm into photography.
Have you ever taken any
Most times being very interesting or just awful first dates that can totally result in the person that the date was with being eliminated first in the final decision. This show, on all accounts, is so dumb, but somewhere in my heart, I just adore the overacting, weird and wild nature of it all. When I think of MTV, this is one of the first few greatest memories from this era that comes to mind.
First thing I noticed about Jessica was her hair.
Rich Girls was such a short-lived little reality show focusing on Allie Hilfiger and Jamie Gleischer. The Rich Girls title comes from them being the daughters of highly successful businessmen.
Allie, look at my mommy. Oh my god.
With Allie's father being Tommy Hilfiger and Jamie's father being Leo Gleischer. You can easily mistake this as something trying to cash in on the rich life of girls who have famous fathers trope, as this was at the time out there with something like The Simple Life, which honestly deserves a full video on its own. If you want to see that, let me know. But these two were extremely different, and technically, Rich Girls came out first, and the only thing that they really have in common is that they are rich daughters who may be out of touch with reality a bit outside of their bubbles. Where The Simple Life was more about these two rich girls doing manual-based lower-income jobs that contrast heavily with their real lives, and Rich Girls, well, it was just about rich girls who were graduating from high school and spending that summer right after together as they visit and travel to various nice locations, talk about the latest gossip at the time, and of course, lots of shopping.
Yes, tell her definitely, and I will make that promise to you.
But for these young girls fresh out of school and straight into the spotlight with cameras on them all the time, this led to a sad downfall for their mental well-being, where Allie would end up in rehab as well as deal with a Lyme disease diagnosis, and Jamie suffered from depression and was struggling with an eating disorder. On top of this, behind the scenes, their friendship wasn't as what it was on the screen, as after the show came to an end, they both split from each other as friends. And we kind of get a glimpse of that in the final episode, as they mention that they really don't spend much time talking to each other anymore as they've gone their separate ways after the summer.
I don't see Jamie as much as I'd like.
I miss Allie. I don't see her as much as we used to.
When we do talk, there's more substance to our conversations.
We really are on two separate paths right now. Our two separate lives are just going to prove how strong our friendship is.
However, something pretty cool was caught on tape here for their production filming in New York. In 2003, there was this famous blackout in the northeast of the US and part of Canada, leaving people without power for as little as a few hours to as long as a few days.
I hope there's not an emergency.
Nothing's working.
Your cell phone doesn't work either?
The light's on. Is it on fire?
But that's very low. It's scary. I'm going to see if I can turn the TV on to see what's going on.
Because there's no TV.
Listen
to it. Turn it off. It's
It's gonna blow up. I'm not gonna plug it out. Sit down. Freaking me out. Well, go freak out somewhere else.
Which for this short-lived 10-episode show to capture something from a major event of that decade is kind of cool to re-experience, so at least there's that. And I am happy that both of these rich girls are doing pretty great today.
I'm in a bad mood. I'm not in a bad mood because I love this jacket.
Talk about a show that just won't die. Cribs. Yeah, that's right. It's still on the air. But I'm sorry, this new reboot of the series has nothing on the original series. Back then was the era of all these celebrities, from actors to rappers to athletes, that just wanted to flex as hard as they could for TV just to show you how fun it was to be rich.
What's up? Yeah, y'all can come in, man. Hold on.
From the most ridiculous in size houses to the way too many cars that unless you're Jay Leno or Jerry Seinfeld, you have no business owning, or even in some cases here, renting just to flex for the video shoot. So why this show was so special is that it really feels like what today we would consider a vlog.
Come back when you feel like it.
Where the show lacks a host and lets the famous person guide the tour as if they're directly talking to you rather than answering questions from someone else walking around with them. It was a direct, in-our-face flex from our favorite celebrities.
Anytime y'all see me, make sure y'all make me some homemade chocolate chip cookies.
The show was a good look into the life of luxury, and it's really when I noticed that a lot of these reality shows, or whatever you can classify a show like this as, only aimed at trying to make you wish you had these other rich people's lives. Your life must be so regular and so boring that you spend your time when not working seeing how the 1% live. Whether you're watching rich girls shopping or rich people showing off their riches, looking back, things for some people I guess really haven't changed. We see vlogs and countless YouTube videos that flex larger than life lifestyles, but now from something more attainable and relatable because it's on YouTube, and the distance between you and this platform is just a computer, rather than you to these celebrities' lives. Either way, Cribs is something I feel everyone either then, or I guess now, watched and saw some pretty crazy things. I mean, 50 Cent on the show for one, having a fridge full of his own vitamin water brand. Bam. And the fact that the Ferraris shown off weren't even really his.
And they say, I got a Ferrari at 50, I said, me too.
Or never finding out why DJ Khaled needs a 30-person shower.
So you can fit like 30 people. The problem is, it's only 2 people.
There's just so many fun things to find and see here at these celebrities' houses. Ludacris's swamp hallway, Missy Elliott's everything, Lil Wayne's living room hot tub, Shaq's giant bed. But my personal favorite thing is the Yin Yang Twins segment.
Hey, yo, how y'all doing?
Where they just gave a tour of a random house that they clearly rented and just made stuff up about as they went, allegedly. But I mean, come on, there is nothing here aside from some random clothes and a few things that are technically from them that they filled the house with, but the rest of the place is just so far off base. They just make up some fish names when they show off these fish.
That's kudzu and money green.
Yeah.
And don't talk much about all the random boat decor everywhere.
When I see these, I said, I gotta get them.
Yeah, with my brother.
Yeah.
Even when claiming they decorated it themselves.
We decorated this ourselves now. Take no woman.
It was just this random suburban neighborhood house. And outside, they took up the whole cul-de-sac with these fancy whips. But during the tour, my favorite part is them showing off the bedrooms. With this being a traditional suburban home, there's only one large suite in the place. And it has all the fancy bedding, and both of them go in there and show off how much they love that bedding. But when we see the other twins' room, they both seem pretty blasé about it. It has no real personality to it, and if anything, I feel like they sleep in the same bed based on all of this.
Hey, it's so soft. Oh. All you gotta do is act right. All you gotta do is work hard.
That is, if they even live here at all. Every episode would end with the cameraman being kicked out of the house, most times being made fun of. It's a classic show that if you really want to have some fun, you should go back and watch some of the classic episodes. Date My Mom. No, that's not an invitation, that's the name of a show. Unlike what you think it is, it's a setup where a person goes on 3 different dates with 3 different moms who all have a kid that they want this person to date.
Time to date these mothers and find me a lover.
So the person going on the dates with these moms has to choose which son or daughter of these moms to go out on a date with, only from knowing their mother and whatever information they learn from their mom on the date.
Put your hands in the air like you just don't care.
Great.
Rather than a casual lunch date where the dater could meet the mom and have a nice conversation, the dates act more like the other MTV show dates, where they can be wacky and wild and in some weird effort to convince the dater that their kid is the one for them. In the end, we get this overdramatic beach decision of who the dater chooses and explains to them why they did or didn't choose their son or daughter.
Which son is the chosen one?
And like usual, the conversations we have here are pretty spoon-fed and performed at the peak levels of I wanna die.
Your daughter's wild side would be a perfect fit for this square guy.
Back to the whole beach thing, I can't stop watching all of these son or daughter reveals.
Big mistake. Wait till you see what you're missing out on.
No wonder he ties everyone up. It's to keep him from running away.
The disappointment or the cockiness on their faces, in addition to the goofy later on filmed reactions from the daters and all of the others.
I've just eliminated 2 cute girls. Hope I haven't picked a monster.
It's just so good, bad, it's good. I love this.
He looked really stupid. Fantastic!
But he can't handle a master like me.
In the end, we might see some kissing for way too long from the dater and the chosen winner. And the mom, however, just kind of stands there to watch all of this.
Hooray!
I can't take this show seriously at all. I have to move on, I'm sorry.
Mom.
Bringing it back to some skateboarding, we have Rob Dyrdek, the only person here to still be associated with MTV to business maneuver himself all the way to making the biggest fortune from them over the years. First, he started off with Rob and Big, a show that would follow the random day-to-day adventures and shenanigans of Rob along with his bodyguard turned best friend, Christopher Boykin, aka Big Black. There's really not much more to it than that. They just goof off, but it's their friendship that made you fall in love with them. The show lasted from 3 seasons, and from getting a mini horse to a turd pool incident, it all felt so homegrown rather than some big fantastical production. Just these 2 dudes hanging out and a camera crew catching it all.
Dude, that's what you got.
Dude, wow.
It's delicious and it's fantastic.
Baked in the ovens of friendship. That don't sound right.
Although things behind the scenes started falling apart for the series, leading to a falling out between the two, Rob would move on to another show for the network, Fantasy Factory. No longer would Rob be confined to the house for his goofing off. Now he has this massive factory that is part a really cool indoor skate park and part a business office for himself to work out of, as well as his cousin Drama. Plus the space and surrounding areas outside would all be used for even larger ideas for everyone to have fun, or for Chanel West Coast to get hurt.
I'm trying.
Classic. This was also a great vessel to have other celebrities and athletes come through to skate or take part in the randomness as well. It was such a vibe in one of the coolest buildings at the time. In fact, it was so cool that eventually the Fantasy Factory would be added to the game Skate 2, where it wasn't as visually cool as it was in real life, but it was still fun to play on nonetheless. This show in comparison was so much larger, and you can see Rob becoming this cash cow for MTV, where Fantasy Factory would last a total of 7 seasons. But it wasn't until season 4, when a missing element would come back into Rob's life, that brought the show to such an even greater height. Big Black was back.
Wow. You know what I mean?
The 2 of them behind the scenes repaired their friendship, and the brotherly magic came right back into the air. After Fantasy Factory would come to an end, Rob had already started another show that was continuing on, as he was the host of Ridiculousness for MTV, a clip reaction show that is still going on to this day, and is played more than Teen Titans Go is played on Cartoon Network, and that's saying something. It has over 1,000 episodes. While Rob would have his friends a part of this, and even had Big Black on some of the episodes, sadly, on May 9th, 2017, Christopher Boykin would pass away from heart failure resulting from a heart attack. And I would just like to say a personal rest in peace to Christopher, as my dad and I loved watching Rob and Big and Fantasy Factory, so both shows meant a lot to me.
What is that? A father-to-be book? Why do you have this?
I got a baby on the way.
That doesn't make sense.
Your boy got a baby on the way.
Now moving on from one bromance to another, let's take a look at the show Bromance, is what I would say. If it weren't for this long detoured rabbit hole that I went down to try and find this show and any proof that it really existed. Because outside of just a couple images online or this really bad footage from apparently an episode, and articles about the winner of the show, accidentally leaking that he was the winner of the show before the series was finished, this show is scrubbed from the internet. After spending day after day finding every way that I can to get access to this show just so I can talk about it, because I have distinct memories of it, it led me to finding a few people who may actually have some recordings of it. And after some intense negotiation of saying, hey, can you prove to me it's real? And my only answer given back to me was, maybe. Before getting radio silenced, I have been left with nothing. So while I talk about this show, enjoy some whatever I have as footage instead. Okay, thank you. Which only lasted 6 whole episodes. Bromance was made as a spin-off to the hit show The Hills, a show that followed the lives of young men and women in the Los Angeles hills of California, and all of the drama that comes along with it, which The Hills was technically a spin-off of Laguna Beach, and I'm not gonna go down this rabbit hole any further, okay? Here in Bromance, Brody Jenner, the rising reality TV show star that he was, had 9 other dudes compete to become his best friend. I wish I was kidding. All it takes is having a falling out with one of your real best friends, and then boom, you can pitch a show where you can just have 9 people compete to be your best friend now? Okay. Hey, can you build the best bromance with Brody? Do you have the muscles? Are you the right vibe to fit in with someone like Brody? Well, in this short-lived show, someone actually did. It wasn't too dragged out. By episode 6, we had our winner, Luke. Oh, sorry, spoilers. I know you were eager to go and watch this one for yourself. I'm so sorry. But hey, aside from winning Brody's friendship, he also won a free penthouse in Los Angeles. For only a year, though. And a Scion. Nice. This show is just kind of dumb, but at least someone got a Scion out of it, so that's pretty cool. I wonder if they really did become best friends and are still that to this day. Honestly, never mind, I really don't care. Time to get into why I made this whole video in the first place.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay, so this was the main show that really set me down the path on making this video. Yo Mama, the pinnacle of the mid-2000s for MTV, where Wilmer Valderrama,
It's your boy, Wilmer Valderrama,
would host these Yo Mama matches between some competitors in the style of what underground city rap battles would look like. Wilmer would go around to different areas around a city as they would battle their way to the finals.
Oh, so fast, she don't got a wheelchair, she got a wheel bench.
2 secondary hosts would handle hosting some of the other battles, while Wilmer would really just be there as the face and for the final round. And for something else, which we'll get to. The battles would take place in front of a crowd that would either laugh or boo at the different Yo Mama jokes, as some would be legitimately pretty brutal, well, brutal for cable TV standards.
Your mama's so ugly when she go to church, the crucifix go like, oh my God.
And some would be just awful.
You're so dumb, she thought DJ Clue was Blue's Clues' cousin.
You can literally feel the cringe crawl all over you. As the rounds progress, the finale would take the 2 best from the previous battles in the episode, and each of them would go and visit the other person's house, with Wilmer there to find some dirt so they can use in the final battle.
Oh look, he's got a pull-out couch as a bed. Must be really hard to pull out every night.
I just think they needed another random hook here to make the episodes fit the runtime, and I think the crew just missed room raiders. Rather than just the opponent snooping through things here, this segment really just became Wilmer's time to crack awkward jokes about literally everything.
Oh, check it out, whiteout. Ah, you're still here, it didn't work.
Getting his full screen time in over the contestant here. Now, for the final battle, the 2 face off at the warehouse as Wilmer hops out of a taxi. The crowd is larger for each side to represent their neighborhoods they're coming from, and the first round is strictly Yo Mama jokes.
Moms like Walmart, always low prices.
And the 2 go back and forth for a bit until round 2, where it gets switched up to dissing each other's clothes for some reason. But okay, well, let's roll with that.
Hey, your mama, stop doing the laundry at my house. I don't know no Pedro. Gosh.
Then it switches to them having to start dissing each other over their hygiene.
Your breath is so bad, your hair's curling away from your face.
And the next part is anything goes, any jokes you can think of.
You don't even have electricity. Your mother stands outside with a key connected to a kite.
And I think we're kind of losing the plot here of what this show is supposed to be. But for the 3rd round, it's the knockout round. So they have to hit them with their biggest and best joke.
Unlike
After this, Wilmer starts talking with the judges about how they're feeling for a winner, and then the winner ends up getting selected for a chance to battle the best of the area in a future episode. They also win some cash money, and hey, we got to hear some really out there jokes that no one would believe that they said on TV.
I see hooked on phonics ain't work for you.
I see that hooked on ebonics has worked for you.
At least we could see the mamas that we hear so much about when they make their home visits. And just think about that. You go to your opponent's home, you meet their mom, you're nice and respectful towards her, and then minutes later in the episode, you're saying some really awful stuff about her.
How you doing, Mom?
Good, how are you?
Your mom is so stupid.
Good, how are you?
Ah, MTV, never change. Each of the 3 seasons it had, they would move location to find new contestants, from Los Angeles to New York and then Atlanta. Yo mama jokes are a common type of joke that we all know and have said at one point growing up, and this show definitely gave some kids at school at the time for me a lot of new ones to try out. No kid was ever just original back then, they just heard it on TV and repeated it. While I had this show to thank for my daily dose of yo mama jokes growing up, do some people today look at this yo mama channel as their own source of it? I don't know. All I do know is that Yo Mama is so smart that she hit the like button. This one I was hesitant to speak on, as Tila Tequila today is, well, I don't want to get into all that awfulness, but there was a time where she had the hottest show on television, A Shot at Love with Tila Tequila. At its basic form, it's a dating show where a bunch of contestants shoot their shot at winning Tila Tequila's heart.
And I'm tired of being alone.
Her show would be different from the standard affair with stuff like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. She was a party animal and was open about being more affectionate, and a whole large cast of both men and women all had a chance to spend time with her and make their moments stand out. You know, the standard for shows like this.
Never been with Asian chick before, but I love Chinese food.
The contestants themselves would also have a big focus on just dealing with each other, and because the party environment, there was so much drunken speech, fighting, and anything but sobriety.
Okay. You don't warn me what to do.
Honestly, tell me what's going on.
Plus, there were games and competitions for them all to compete in, to give the episodes, well, something more than just flirting and drinking.
Felt like I just won the World Series or something.
Throughout the weeks of airing, more and more would be voted off until hopefully Tila does find the love she's looking for. But she didn't. There was a season 2 and she tried all over again. Eventually though, the series would move on with a new set of people, this time being twins, for the 3rd season. And for the 4th season, they would mix in some Jersey Shore. And this will be the only time I mention Jersey Shore in this video, where Pauly D and Vinny would now be the ones up for grabs. Anyway. My Super Sweet 16, a show that was on the air from 2005 to 2017. Yeah, that blew me away too. Turning 16 was a big moment for a lot of people. For most, it means that they can drive. For others, it means act like a spoiled brat bankrupting your parents on the music television channel.
You know what? You need to shut up, Maggie. I'm done with you.
The show would follow different girls as their parents would try to give them the biggest and best Super Sweet 16 they can, all complete with the following bad behavior, such as temper tantrums for things not going their way, or getting what they want.
Mom, that's not fair. Well, then you're giving me those $3,000.
And this show showed me that it is these parents that are suckers and that these kids are just truly awful. And sometimes the musical guest would be a surprise and that'd be fun. At this point, we are just watching these type of shows to feel better about ourselves, right? We watch the rich celeb shows to see the other side of life we don't have or even could possibly want, and then have these shows to balance that out for yourself to see that your life is pretty good. And you can feel like a better person because you're not what's on screen happening. Ah, my soul is cleansed. I just like the spin-off show Exiled, where they would toss these spoiled brats out into random other countries and then have them survive. Now that seems pretty fair to me.
You're going to Africa.
But speaking of intense and dangerous things, my other reason for making this video has been saved for last. A show that really made you cringe, but not in the way you're used to from these other MTV shows we've talked about. Yes, Scarred, a show that would bring you the gnarliest wipeouts, fails, and all-around carnage a human can inflict upon themselves from various extreme sports.
Gave me 20 staples on the outside. Still the staples.
It may not have lasted long as a show, but Jacoby from Papa Roach would host the show where the footage we would see is all real captured footage like a clip show, but each just as wicked as the last.
My name is Fat Tony. It's Fat Tony. Fat Tony here.
As I mentioned, I was a skater boy, and a show like this, of course, had my name all over it to watch. Each Scar Story would introduce us to a person involved telling their story as they break down the video in question, go through it in slow motion, and reveal the true damage done to them. We would be shown x-rays, surgery moments, and the resulting scars left from everything. So at least the name of the show checks out.
Turn and it just slipped out.
As valuable as the show was to really show you how serious some of these injuries could be and how extensive the healing process is, if you were a kid and involved in any of these sports and your parents found out about this show, you would never be allowed to get back out there and shred again. Well, it didn't happen to me, but it did happen to one of my friends, and from that day forward, if he ever did want to come skating, he would have his board hidden over at one of our friends' houses for him to secretly still skate. Sorry, Jake's mom, your son was still skating, and no, he did not break his leg from playing football. I do want to mention that I love Jacoby's random interludes between Scar stories, where as he sets up the next one, we just get cuts of him being goofy and posing for the camera in various ways, all for no reason.
You can try closing your eyes, but this one even sounds evil.
He honestly really doesn't need to be here in the show. Like, if you just take him out, the show could still continue, it still works without him. But for me, his little goofiness really adds a layer of charm that makes me happy. It's so 2007. Funny, it wasn't canceled for it being too much for some to watch or any other reason. What happened was Papa Roach was going on tour, so Jacoby had to leave and the show just stopped. So instead of just having another host come in or having no host in general like the last few episodes, we just get left with only 20 episodes of this show in total, which I guess is enough. Luckily back then, 4K video capturing wasn't a thing for these extreme moments, and these gross scenes here were at the mercy of cable quality limitations.
What you gonna do now, homie?
But I think that's where we should leave it. We went over some really fun, some really bad, and some really weird shows that filled up every hour of MTV in the 2000s. Obviously, this was only a selection of what was out there, so let me know some other MTV shows from this era you remember fondly. Maybe we'll come back for more sometime. Until then, thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Later.